Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun, dai-chan here, and you're watching the Waifu Files, a series where we discover and celebrate anime through their lovely ladies. In this episode, we'll be shining a spotlight on the waifu from Sousou no Frieren, or Frieren, Beyond Journey's End. Going forward in this series, I want to make some changes. From now on, I'll no longer be assigning these waifu a rating from 1 to 5 stars. That system had unforeseen consequences, essentially warding off viewers who wanted validation from my ratings. My wife, for instance, was heartbroken when I didn't give Mitsuru from Persona 3 5 stars. No joke, she just dropped the video right there. The point is to showcase the appeal of these girls, not get lost in semantics. Thus, you'll get the same coverage as always, but instead of individual rankings, I'll just be denoting certain waifu as my certified favorites. It should help differentiate my personal opinion from each character's bio. Retroactively, that means every waifu I've previously given 5 stars automatically becomes a favorite. After all, our tastes are allowed to be superficial and impulsive. We shouldn't have to justify why we like someone, and just because I wouldn't buy figures or merch of a given waifu, that doesn't mean they aren't amazing in their own right. Speaking of merch, don't forget that you can buy a delightful dakimakura of me from Cuddly Octopus. It's great for snuggling, and pets love it too. Without further ado, let's dive in. Frieren is a fantasy anime that deals with the passage of time. It's based off an ongoing manga, which means there will be more waifu introduced later, but we can always make another video if necessary. Our main waifu, Frieren herself, is an elven mage who's over 1,000 years old. Her race lives far longer than humans, and even dwarves, giving them a unique perspective on history and its progress. From birth, Frieren was the most powerful elf in her village, allowing her to survive an attack from demons that terrorized the land. Due to her high capacity for mana, she defeated Basalt, the Throne, one of the Demon King's generals. The rest of her family, however, were wiped out during the assault. A human mage, Flamme, discovered Frieren all alone and took her in as an apprentice. Under her new master, Frieren learned to conceal her mana as a deceptive tactic against the demons, and was entrusted the daunting task of one day defeating the Demon King. Thanks to her lifespan, however, she didn't approach this mission with any degree of urgency. Instead, she spent most of her first 900 years alive developing her craft in solitude. She has a playful fascination with magic, always excited to discover new spells regardless of their practical use. Her life drastically changed when she met a human adventurer, Himmel, and was eventually invited to join him on a quest to defeat the Demon King. Over the following decade, she journeyed across the land with Himmel's party, and sure enough, they did in fact accomplish their goal. Those 10 years, which she initially perceived as a mere drop in the bucket of her overall life, became tremendously profound. Even as she outlives her companions, she continues to remember them fondly, and their experience together defines her adventures going forward. Along with this, she regrets not appreciating her time with Himmel to the fullest, and ventures toward Oriole, the land where souls rest, to reunite with him. While defeating the Demon King was a grand accomplishment, Frieren discovers that peace is not so easily attained. Time moves on, new conflicts arise, and old ones return. Some things change while others don't. Despite her age, Frieren can be extremely childish, struggling to get out of bed in the morning, and naively falling prey to mimic traps, betting on the extremely rare chance that she'll find something new. She's often calm and methodical, but every now and again she shows her playful and even sentimental sides. Frieren is also stubbornly wary of demons, refusing to be fooled by their wicked deception. Overall, she is a comforting hero who wows us with both her strength and silliness. Let's jump back a bit in time to flesh out Frieren's mentorship. Perhaps the strongest mage in Frieren's world is another elf named Serie. She became a great mage during the mythical era, amassing all manner of ancient spells no longer attainable. As such, she is worshipped as a living grimoire, promising mages of the modern era the chance to learn one of these lost spells. To receive this blessing, mages now have to ascend to the rank of first-class mage through her Continental Magic Association. To that extent, she is credited for standardizing the practice of magecraft, allowing humans to finally compete with the likes of demons. Those in the association consider her the one being closest to their world's goddess of creation. Fittingly, she sees herself above her pupils, treating their ambitions as naive. That said, I appreciate how she's willing to adapt in the face of undeniable change. For example, Serie once took a human as her apprentice on a whim. This waifu, Flamme, dreamed of an age where anyone could use magic. As a child, she was absolutely in love with magic after her parents showed her a spell that could produce an entire field of beautiful flowers. This was during a time when magic was considered taboo, filled with demonic techniques. Though Serie told her that magic would never be accepted among humans, Flamme spent her life convincing the largest human empire to form a division of imperial mages. After dying, Flamme entrusted this potential to Serie, being the true catalyst for magic's widespread development. She made sure to impart her love of magic onto Frieren, teaching her student the very same flower spell that inspired her. Frieren, in turn, loved the pursuit of magic so much that she refused Serie's offer to learn a lost spell, as she wanted to learn it through her own merits. Flamme's just amazing. I love her outfit, as it reminds me of an older Morgiana. Now, enough with the past. Let's look toward the future, as Frieren herself takes on a pupil by the name of Fern. One of Frieren's former party members, Edel, was an alcohol-obsessed priest who adopted Fern after she was orphaned from a war in the southern lands. Despite nearing the end of his life, Edel tried to teach her magic, hoping Frieren would take her on as an apprentice. At the time, Fern was still too young, unable to defend herself, and so Edel delayed Frieren's departure with the promise of a grimoire containing healing and resurrection spells. Such spells were too good to be true, but Frieren stuck around for years in case she could find a way to heal her beloved ally. She would then teach Fern in the meantime. Thus, by the time Edel finally passed on, Fern was old and skilled enough to join Frieren on her travels. Thanks to Edel being a perverted man of the cloth, Fern is so used to scolding him that she has a natural aversion to lewdness. She's more virtuous and well-behaved than her seniors, and as such, she finds herself disciplining her own master. Fern dreads having to wake Frieren up, but does so because otherwise Frieren would completely lose track of time. Despite her innate talent, Fern doesn't have the luxury of a long life and hopes to efficiently hone her craft to make Edel proud from beyond the grave. She succeeds in that regard, being the youngest ever to earn the title of third-class mage, and diligently takes the test to become a first-class mage. Like Frieren, Fern is taught to conceal her mana, causing her opponents to greatly underestimate her potential. In lieu of learning a variety of spells, she masters basic offensive and defensive magic, overwhelming her rivals in combat. Despite these accomplishments, she is a young girl, and that shines through in her behavior around Stark, a male warrior her age, whom she clearly has feelings for. Fern has a hard time being honest with him, leading to arguments and misunderstandings. I don't really like how she assumes the worst from him, even though he clearly means well, though I suppose she's allowed to have this one shortcoming. You can't expect everyone to be perfect. She's a buzzkill in that regard, but an endearing one. Sure enough, the demons in Frieren are nasty creatures who only learn human tongue to deceive their prey with lies. That said, they can be alluring in their own way. Take Aura, for example. She's one of the 7 sages of destruction that serve the Demon King, continuing on even in her lord's absence. When Himmel's party stormed through the northern lands, she survived and remained in hiding until Himmel's eventual death. Even now, she is known as Aura the Guillotine for beheading her prey. Specifically, she has them behead themselves via her scales of obedience. Rather than her individual spells, Aura's strength comes from her capacity for mana, which she weighs against her opponents. Should her mana exceed her targets, she gains complete control over their body. Having lived for over 500 years, she's been able to concentrate more mana than any human could ever dream of, making it impossible for them to ever win. Luckily, Frieren has been alive for even longer, and by concealing her mana, she is able to beat Aura at her own game. When the scales finally tip against her, Aura is ordered to remove her own head, putting an end to her reign. It's a shame, because physically she's quite attractive. If only she weren't evil. The same can be said for Aura's subordinate, Linie. As a child, Linie awakened to a unique ability that lets her observe and mimic the fighting styles of other warriors. She was around to witness as Himmel's party fought the Demon King, and during their battle, she memorized the mana and mannerisms of Aizen, their dwarven hero. After being recruited by Aura, she was tasked to invade Graf Granet's domain. This city was protected by a powerful barrier, and under the guise of a peace treaty, Linie and her fellow demons hope to tear it down. Linie comes face to face with Stark, who just so happens to be Aizen's successor. Even though she can copy Aizen's moves, she struggles to deliver them with the same power. This just barely gives Stark the edge needed to strike her down. It makes me feel bad, since she's both adorable and badass. Too bad she wasn't on the side of justice, reinforcing how demons truly are irredeemable, no matter how fap-worthy. A whole new crew of waifu get introduced when Frieren and Fern take on the first-class mage exam. Let's start with a pair of girls who are inseparable, Lawine and Kanne. They are constantly fighting each other, but deep down, it comes from a place of love and support. Both of them were childhood friends who studied together at the Academy of Magic. Kanne was spoiled by her parents, causing her to be timid and afraid at times. While she's usually cheerful and outgoing, she fears freezing up during important moments, such as when she was first learning to fly. As the rest of her class went on without her, she couldn't move, begging Lawine to praise her as encouragement. Lawine, who is much more stoic, isn't accustomed to giving compliments, but nonetheless notes how, despite being a coward, Kanne has a strong work ethic and practices hard when no one's watching. Kanne jokes that it's a creepy compliment, prompting her to get pushed off the cliff. Turns out a bit of tough love does the trick, as Kanne takes flight with ease. Their feuding, then, is a source of strength and camaraderie. When they channel that aggression outward, they are a formidable force. Kanne uses water manipulation magic, which is especially powerful near lakes or in the rain. Complementing her style, Lawine uses ice magic, freezing that water, or generating spears of ice that can be fired at opponents. Of the two, I have an especially soft spot for Kanne, as her name kinda sounds like my dog's, and she's a midriff-bearing tomboy. I stamp her as one of my certified favorites. I have to admit, seeing these two girls fight and wrestle each other is kind of hot. One of the more popular waifu I'm seeing fan art of is Übel. She's a total femme fatale who's easily misunderstood. As a child, she and her sister grew up in poverty. She'd often watch her sister sew, and was intrigued by how cleanly scissors could cut through fabric. This was important because her magic is based around visualization. Rules and rationale mean nothing compared to the images in her mind. For instance, when she attempted the exam to become a second-class mage, she was confronted by Berg, a first-class mage wearing an immovable cloak, strengthened with defensive spells. Examinees were tasked to forcibly move him with their attacks, yet Übel took it too far. No matter how strong this cloak was, Übel's vision of clothing being sliced through was so clear that her spell, Real Sidon, cleaved Berg in two. She was disqualified for killing her instructor, but was allowed to take the first-class exam 2 years later. An extension of her visualization is the ability to copy other mages' spells. If she can picture a spell and empathize with its caster, she can replicate it without actually knowing its fundamentals. This, paired with her casual attitude towards killing, makes her extremely dangerous. Ironically, she's less likely to murder the mages she copies, as she often needs to learn about them first. Her name translates to nasty, evil, and foul, but that doesn't seem to stop her from amassing a strong fan base. I look forward to getting to know her as the series goes on. Ehre here is a much more reserved girl. She's been interested in magic ever since her village was saved from a demon attack by Übel, a man she now works with during the first-class exam. Between the two, Ehre went on to be a top graduate from the Academy of Magic. She has a good relationship with her grandfather Lawine, who is already a first-class mage. In battle, Ehre specializes in levitation and the manipulation of rocks. From the air, she can pelt her enemies with sharp, fast projectiles. While she's a capable spellcaster who carries herself with pride, it's nice that she can let her guard down around Übel, revealing an adorable, immature side as well. Laufen is a mostly quiet mage who combines her magic with martial arts. Her already long staff is capable of stretching into a flexible whip, expanding her range considerably. Using Jilver, a folk spell from a southern mountain tribe, she can move at blinding speeds to ambush, attack, or even escape her opponents. She's a third-class mage hoping to become first-class, alongside her partners Denken and Richter. Of the two men, it seems Denken has taken a liking to her, treating Laufen as his granddaughter. She might be a bit naive and inexperienced, but she more than makes up for it as a cooperative team player. I really like her design. It's like Chun-Li, what with the dress and hair buns. Edel is a less prominent mage who specializes in hypnosis. It's an exceptional talent, one that has her working for the Continental Magic Association on various jobs. Hoping to ascend as a first-rank mage, she takes the exam but fails after being wounded in battle. Unfortunately, her opponent, a Spiegel clone, doesn't actually have a mind to manipulate. Regardless of her loss, she's recruited by Ehre's grandfather Lawine to restore the power of a stone bracelet of solitude. In this endeavor, she's shown being able to read the minds of both humans and demons. Personally, I think her design is a bit bland, but don't let that discourage you. Methode is a nice-figured woman who proves her talents during the first-class mage exam. Like Edel, she can use hypnosis magic, specifically to restrain her opponents. Though magic of the goddess is typically only practiced by clergy, Methode can use scriptures to cast healing spells and analyze dead bodies to determine how they died. Rather than a specialist in any one field, she applies a range of spells, such as one that can dispel fog. Having come from a northern demon-hunting clan, she can get aggressive with her fighting when in a bind. Reasonably so, Methode has a soft spot for elves, finding Frieren, and especially Serie, absolutely adorable. She can't help but bombard Serie with headpats. Way to humble one of the world's strongest mages. Less successful is Länge, a mage who makes it to the second stage of the first-class mage exam, only to fail when she finds herself trapped in the dungeon with gargoyles. She is a shy, easily frightened girl who chooses to escape with her life when the test threatens her. I appreciate this, as we don't really need any sacrificial waifu just to show how difficult these tests are. Perhaps she can try again, but in the meantime, she enjoys her hobby of reading. Her dress is really pretty, and I like how the sleeves are separate from the shoulders. Our final waifu, for now anyway, is Sense, the first-class mage who proctors the second stage of Frieren's exam. For the first 4 years in this position, none of her prospective candidates were able to pass. She declares herself a pacifist, yet her exam is exceptionally harsh, forcing mages to confront clones of themselves. To be fair, she provides all test takers a golem that can escort and heal anyone who wants to drop out. Beyond that, she is a quiet observer who curiously gleams what she can learn from new applicants. Sense fights using her hair, which is layered with spells to the point where she can manipulate individual strands. Her hair can penetrate stone and barriers, which requires a great deal of concentration, as well as a vivid imagination. She is similar to Übel in that regard, though in that case, Übel's visualization of cutting proves to be her greatest threat. Sense's design is interesting, always looking drowsy. She seems very huggable. So there you have it. Frieren may not be the most fanservice-heavy show, but it's got a whopping 15 waifu, and the manga suggests even more to come. Don't forget to check out the full Waifu Files tier list for a vast catalog of amazing girls. Until next time, let me know which of these waifu are your favorites in the comments below. See you later.
Thanks for watching.
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all our anime lore, discussions, and Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or a YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like spicy exclusive vids and early access.
As always, celebrate your fandom. I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. VideoGamer75, Dante Pendragon, Stephen Elak, Samuel Gersten, The Nonchalant Ostrich, Otaku Mom, Jens Bauman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Lord Ormagoden, Freebrick, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Zamas Autonomous, Scout, Yuki Eidos, Crow Kalem, Saul Soto, Tristan Riggin, Major, Caitlin P, Sogai CH, Vladimirovna, The Taz 96, Jonathan Padua, Kengo X77, Hairsha of E-Rated Hands, Alistair Bernadotte, and Akakaze Yume. Thank you all so much.